Hey everybody, my name is Victoria. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do my summer book haul. I tend to go used book shopping just here and there, and usually by the end of every season I have accumulated a good amount of used books. It's just the way I like to shop. It's almost like a challenge to go into a Goodwill or a used bookstore of some kind and just to see what kind of treasures I find. And I will say, I think I did pretty well this summer. And also I have a few book of the month picks that I've accumulated over the past 3 months. So I have separated my haul by genre, and so I'm gonna go ahead and start with the fantasy books that I've picked up first, because as it will surprise absolutely no one, it is the biggest pile. I have the most amount of fantasy books in this haul, and then a smattering of other things, classics and some nonfiction and a little bit of mystery, thriller, historical fiction, a little bit of everything, some contemporary, but the fantasy pile is the biggest. So we are going to go ahead and start with the fantasy books that I've picked up lately. Okay, so the first one I'm super excited about. I'm excited about all of these books, but I'm really excited to finally have a copy of a Mercedes Lackey book. I have been wanting to get into her books, but I never knew where to start. And then I forget it might have been one of Elliot Brooks's video. I got into a conversation with another YouTube commenter about Mercedes Lackey because I had mentioned I really want to try her, but I don't know where to start. And this very kind YouTube commenter gave me a very extensive explanation of all of the series and how you really can't go wrong with what series you start, but there's definitely some main ones, but they're all pretty self-contained. She has a lot of trilogies that are self-contained, and some of them do connect to other worlds, but this seemed like a good one to start with. This is the first one in the what's it called, Heroes of Valdemar? Heralds of Valdemar. This is the first book in that series, and it is called Arrows of the Queen. I don't really know anything about what this series is about other than I just really want to try some Mercedes Lackey. I've heard good things, and it's one of those that I don't hear talked about a ton on BookTube that I would just love to learn more about. And it is high fantasy, and I love these older high fantasies especially, and it's very Wheel of Time-esque even in the cover art. And so I am really excited to try Mercedes Lackey for the first time, hopefully soon. This copy is in really good condition, and I was shocked to find it, but I found a really nice, barely used copy of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. So this is, I think, a very big staple in the science fiction genre, and I believe this is a series as well, although I'm unclear on how many books there are, but I know there's maybe a few more after this one. I've heard Noah from Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse talk really highly about Hyperion, and it sold me, basically. So when I saw a copy of this, I had to pick it up. The next one is kind of funny because I'm really late to the game here. There was a whole read-along on this on Alan's channel at Library of Alexandria, but I finally picked up a copy of Red Rising. I know that I'm way late to this game. A lot of my good friends have already read this, but I have never read these books. And I was kind of steered away from them by a few reviews that I had seen about some people not liking the later books, but it seems like this series really does have a strong fan following. I believe it's dystopian and is often compared to the Hunger Games. And there's a character named Darrow, and that's pretty much all I know. I've kept away from spoilers pretty well for this one, and I'm going to try to keep it that way. But yeah, I don't know much, and I don't want to know much, but I finally have a copy. So even though everyone and their mother has already read this, I can now join in with Red Rising. Next up, I found a Stephen King to add to my collection. It's not my favorite Stephen King cover by any means, but I do really enjoy the Green Mile movie, and I did want to pick up the book. So now I have the book. If you know anything about the Green Mile, or you've watched the movie, you know, it's not like a horror story of Stephen King's. It's a bit more mild than that, but it's a prison story. It's set in a prison, and it's about these inmates who are basically on death row. And there is one inmate in particular who becomes of interest on this prison floor. And that's all I will say about it. But I do really like the Green Mile movie. I think it's a really good movie. And I want to read more Stephen King. I'm slowly collecting some Stephen King books. I definitely have a small pile I need to get through. Maybe like 3 or 4 Stephen King books that I own that I really need to just read already. But now I'm adding another. Next up, I have a Neil Gaiman book. This is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I am a Neil Gaiman fan. I know a lot of people don't love his writing style. I know it's just very specific writing style. And I've seen a lot of people on BookTube especially kind of speak negatively about Neil Gaiman's books and his works and his writing as a whole. But I'm kind of a fan. I like the weirdness, and I feel like Neil Gaiman kind of walks this line between literary fiction and fantasy, and I really gel with that. So I would like to read some more Neil Gaiman. Neverwhere is, I think it's about like a secret kind of underground world that opens up when a man stops and helps a girl who is bleeding on the sidewalk, and I believe he like falls through the cracks into this underbelly or underworld basically, and some fantastical things happen. And I'm really excited to own this because I have heard a lot of people talk about it and I want to try it. This next book, I kind of ask myself, why did I pick this up? I didn't need to pick this up, but I did find it in pretty good condition. And while I haven't read the first book in the series, I do intend to, and now I have the second as well. So I have the second book now in the First Law trilogy, Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. I've heard nothing but good things about this series, really, and I do have the first one in this exact edition, and so now I have a matching book 2, so I'm really excited about that. And anytime I can get, I got this for like, I don't know, maybe, I don't think I paid $2 for it. I paid $8. I paid $8 for this. So that's not bad for like a very hyped, current, buzzy series. And so I had to snatch it up. This next one, I admit I'm hesitant about because I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I think there's a chance I could not like it, but I have always wanted to try reading some Anne Rice. This is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I know that Anne Rice was really big in a certain time, and I don't think people are reading Anne Rice as much anymore. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's lots of Anne Rice fans, but I am really curious. I do enjoy a vampire story, and this book in particular tends to show up on like lists of 100 books you should read before you die. I've actually seen this book pop up a few times on lists like that, and so there must be a reason. I have to try it. I don't know exactly what I'm getting myself into. I've heard mixed things about Anne Rice, but you never know unless you try. So I've got a vampire book for when I'm in a vampire mood. This next one was a book of the month pick, and it's gotten some mixed reviews, so I'm a little bit hesitant about this one as well. But this is Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian, and I know I wanted to pick this up because I know Elliot Brooks really liked her series Ash Princess, and I think it was a trilogy. And so this is her next and newest book. I don't know if this is a series. I don't think it is. I think it's a standalone. But it sounded really awesome, the premise. It's a Arthurian legend retelling of Elaine, Lady of Shalott. I have unfortunately seen a few booktubers who I respect either DNF this or just not enjoy it or give it like 1 or 2 stars. So that does worry me a little bit, but I'm still going to hold out hope. It still looks and sounds great. And yeah, maybe I'll be a person that actually clicks with it. But I've seen a few people not click with it. So that's slightly concerning, but we're still going to try it. Moving right along. This I picked up mostly based on Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative loving this book. This is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. And I believe this is a young adult fantasy novel, which I admittedly, I don't have a ton of those in my repertoire to read here. So I definitely thought I could use some more, and this has rave reviews from some people who I just really respect and believe their opinions. So I'm excited to now have a copy. I was really lucky. I got this for like 50 cents, guys. 50 freaking cents. Especially being a more currently popular book, I was shocked that I got this for that cheap. But this is about Ren, who is a con artist, and she has come to trick her way into a noble house, securing her fortune and her sister's fortune. So there might be maybe a heist of some kind, some shenanigans. She is a con artist, perhaps some masquerade balls. I don't know. There's a masquerade mask on the cover, so perhaps. But I'm really excited that I have a copy of this, and I believe it's the first in what's going to be a trilogy, perhaps. So yeah, I gotta jump on this bandwagon while I can. All right, last fantasy book, friends. This next one, I literally know nothing about this other than it comes highly recommended especially by the Library of Alexandria, Alan over there. And this is the Long Price Quartet. I found this bind up of, I believe it's 4 novels. I honestly had never heard of it before Alan's channel, and so I'm going into this very much blind. But I saw a copy, I couldn't pass it up. I think I got it for, I don't know, I bought it for maybe a little bit more than I typically buy used books, but maybe like $9 or $10 for this one. But that's not bad for this nice floppy edition. It's barely used at all. It's in great condition. I don't know what the Long Price Quartet is about, so I'm sorry. I cannot help you there. I cannot give you any information about this other than I've heard it's good. So there we go. That's all it takes to get me to buy a book. If you tell me it's good, I'll probably buy it. But I am also interested in this because Daniel Abraham, the author, is one of the authors that also does The Expanse, which is also a series I want to get into but haven't yet. The synopsis on the back doesn't tell me much. It tells me in a world of ancient empires and immortal magics, one man stands at the crossroads of history. All right, we're now into our classics section. So this first one is a book that I've been looking for a used copy for this and almost never find one. And so I was shocked to find one for only $2, and that is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. It is in a mass market paperback form, and I didn't really want it in a mass market paperback. I wanted it more in like a floppy or maybe even a hardcover. I don't know. But I found it this way, and so I snatched it up. And as far as classics go, I know this is probably a more modern classic, but it is a classic romance. Actually, this whole cover and aesthetic reminds me of my friend over at the channel Libraries and Labradors. This is like, she reads a lot of books that like look like this cover, and she makes me want to try those books, and so I feel like Gone with the Wind might be a good starting place for me as far as like historical romance or classic romance. So Yeah, I've actually never even seen the movie version of Gone with the Wind. I know what's wrong with me. I may have I have a recollection of starting to watch it but not finishing. So that may have happened to me, but I'm pretty sure I've never watched the whole Gone with the Wind all the way through. Definitely never read it before, so I'm really excited. I've always been looking for a copy, and now I have one. This next book was honestly serendipity. I wanted to participate in Kate Howe's Victorian Patreon book club, and the next book was Lady Audley's Secret. And lo and behold, only a few days after I found out that that was the Patreon book pick, I found it. And it was literally sitting on the shelf like this, like it was staring at me. It was like jumping out at me from the bookshelf. So it was truly fate. This book and I were meant to meet at that time. It was perfect. This sounds amazing. Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon sounds like a very controversial main figure. So we have Lady Audley, who looks like the angel in the house, epitome of Victorian womanhood. She's blonde, fragile, and childlike, but her behavior is distinctly villainous. And so I love the idea of taking this Victorian heroine trope and flipping it on its head and making her perhaps not as pure and angelic as the Victorian heroine can sometimes be. And I believe this was also really popular in its heyday as well, which I'm always interested in books that were currently popular at that time, because I just love to know, like, historically what was interesting to the Victorian public at the time. So this, I'm just really excited. I am going to get to this in September, so I should have some thoughts for you, some more thoughts very soon. But yay, I'm so glad. It was fate that me and this book met at the right time. Next, I picked up a copy of The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. I actually just recently finished reading The Pilgrim's Regress by C.S. Lewis, which is a bit of a play on this one, and I was a bit disheartened that I had never read the original text that is based on. So now I have it. I don't know if I'm going to like it because I've kind of flipped through it, and like the writing is going to be difficult for me. I can tell it's like very much Old English. It might be a little bit difficult to read, but I did want to read that, especially now that I've read The Pilgrim's Regress. I just have to read the original source material for that. So now I have a copy, and again, I found this copy very serendipitously. I found it right after finishing Pilgrim's Regress, so books just found me this season. Also coming in at the perfect time is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I have been reading all of her novels this year, well, except Emma. I think I'm not going to reread Emma because I read Emma last year, so that's the only one I'm going to skip this year, but I'm going to read everything else. So the next one on my list, I believe, is Northanger Abbey. I just have Northanger Abbey and Persuasion left to read, and then I will have successfully read her 6 main novels. So I didn't realize how short Northanger Abbey is. It's quite shocking to me. It's only 217 pages or so, 211 pages, something like that. It looks so tiny compared to her other ones. Is it maybe her shortest one? I know it's shorter than Mansfield Park because that was long, or at least it felt long. I wasn't a big fan of Mansfield Park, but maybe I'll be a bigger fan of Northanger Abbey. This next one is The Codex Cantina Made Me Do It. This is As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. I've never read a Faulkner before, guys. I've never read Faulkner. How have I lived my whole life and never read Faulkner? I don't know. And I don't know if this is the best novel to start with, but it's the one that I currently have. It sounds like it is about a man who is on a journey to bury his wife, and then it's told by different family members. So we're seeing this journey through different family members' eyes. And it says the novel ranges in mood from dark comedy to the deepest pathos, which sounds fascinating. I am excited to get to this author for the first time. This next one, I think Rainy from Rainy Day Reads is making me do this. Well, not making me, but like I saw her talk about this. I think she's responsible for this, but I got a copy of The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. It also has the Aspirin Papers and 2 stories, which those 2 stories are The Beast in the Jungle and The Jolly Corner. But this is a ghost suspense story about a governess and I think the spirits of the children that she's like taken care of. The spirits are connected to the children that she has taken care of before. Yeah, something like that. But it's about a governess and it's got some creepy vibes, some good fall Halloween vibes, if I may. So, awesome. Excited to try Henry James. I've got one more classic here to show you, and this is more of a children's classic, and I swear I've read this book before, but it's been so long. But I think I've read it before. I would like to reread it, which is why I picked it up. But that's The Yearling by, who is it by? Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings. So when I saw it in the used bookstore and I remembered reading it, but I don't remember a lot of details. I just really wanted to reread it and see how it holds up for me. I also just learned there is a musical based on this, which I had no idea. So I'm going to have to figure out how to listen to The Yearling, the musical. Didn't know that was a thing. Next up, I have some nonfiction. Not very much, mind you. I'm not a big nonfiction reader. I do like to read nonfiction. I don't gravitate towards it naturally. I wish I did, but I'm really excited about this one. It's Julie Andrews. It's Home. It's a memoir of her early years, and I just love Julie Andrews, so I really just want to read all of the books about Julie Andrews because Julie Andrews, she's amazing. I like that this is actually written by Julie Andrews and we get to hear her voice. I think that's going to be an awesome read. So tucking that away maybe for Nonfiction November coming up, we'll see. And this one I've never heard anyone talk about. Never seen it before. It was purely just a cover by, and that is For All the Tea in China, How England Stole the World's Favorite Drink and Changed History by Sarah Rose. So this is about the British East India Company basically traveling to China to steal some tea and then to basically make this corporate conglomeration and take over the tea industry. So this is, I believe, kind of about how that happened and how that monopoly happened, basically. I know nothing about this topic, but I love tea. I'm a huge tea drinker. I drink tea a lot. I just love tea. I love tea more than coffee, so I think I'm probably a UK citizen in my heart. I'm not a true American because I don't absolutely love coffee, but I drink both, but I love tea more. So I would love to read some books about tea because it is a hobby of mine, I guess. I like fine teas, and I like to like brew them at the right temperature and to buy like really yummy loose leaf teas. I just love tea. So excited to try this one. I don't know anything about it. So if you've read it or you've like heard anything about it, let me know. I also have one historical fiction book, only one. Sisters in Arms. This is a book of the month by Kaya Alderson, and this sounds fascinating. I couldn't pass this up. I had no clue. This sounds amazing. Grace Steele and Eliza Jones may be from completely different backgrounds, but when it comes to the Army, specifically the Women's Army Corps, they are both starting from the same level. Not only will they be among the first class of female officers the Army has ever seen, they are also the first Black women allowed to serve. So this is just a part of history that, no one talks about. And this author in particular, I was reading her blurb, and she's really into finding those hidden figures and bringing them to life for us and exposing those stories. So this is a story I've never heard about, and I am so excited to learn more. It sounds so fascinating. All right, I've got some contemporaries up next, and this one was just handed to me by a friend. I didn't seek this book out. It was handed to me by a coworker because they're like, "Oh, you like to read? Here's a book." And so It's a bit beat up. It's a bit waterlogged. I don't know if I'm gonna read it. I may pass it on. I don't know. It's not what I usually pick up. It's I don't know. We'll see. It's Family Pictures by Jane Green. I've never heard of this author. I don't usually read this genre. It's more of a like women's fiction, or another term for that is chick lit. I know not everybody likes the term chick lit, and I understand why. But this is about two older women who are basically like empty nesters, and their daughters like become friends, and then they have these like secrets that surface to the top, and they have to like deal with these secrets. I don't know. It's about like family. It's family drama. So I don't always love these books. It might sit on my shelf for a while and I'll see. But if you love this book, you can let me know if it's worth hanging on to, or if I should maybe pass it on to another person. But this was just handed to me by a well-meaning friend. You know how when your friends know that you like to read, they just give you books that they don't want. That's kind of what happened. So we'll see. Next is another book of the month book. This is my most recent one, actually. This is Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. And the premise of this really caught my attention. Also, the very fall cover vibes just grabbed me. I'm so ready for fall. If you can't tell, it's still 100 degrees out where I live, but I'm ready for fall. I will drink a pumpkin spice latte. Even though it's 100 degrees outside, I don't care. I'm ready. But this is about two twin sisters, and one of them, named Inti, is going to be going to Scotland to reintroduce 14 wolves back into this area of the Highlands in Scotland. And so already that setting, I'm like, yes, I like wolves. Scotland is amazing. It's somewhere I would want to go someday. I feel the vibes. And there's, I believe, a murder that happens, and the wolves are blamed. And then I think, Inti's trying to show them, like, well, it's actually not the wolves. The wolves didn't do this. And then, if the wolves didn't do it, who did? A person did, perhaps. And then I think she suspects her, like, love interest at the time. He's, like, suspected of murdering this person. So I don't know. There's sister drama, there's family drama, there's, I know, like, traumatic pasts that they're dealing with. It's got a lot packed into it in a pretty short book. This is so much shorter than I was expecting, which is great. I have a lot of chunky books to read. So the fact that this is short is wonderful. We'll see. Yeah. It does give me really strong fall vibes. I would love to read it maybe in the fall or winter. This is another book of the month book, and this is more of a summer vibe, I would say. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll save it for summertime again, or when I'm longing for summer, maybe when it gets colder and I feel like revisiting summer in my mind. But this is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this one, I still haven't read anything by this author, but if you've been around on Booktube for even like more than a second, you've probably heard of this author. Very, very well loved. Daisy Jones and the Six, Evelyn Hugo. This one's set in Southern California, which I am a Southern Californian myself, and so I am familiar with the area of Malibu, so that kind of appealed to me. And this is set in the 80s as well, and it's about a party in the 80s that seems to go terribly wrong and ends with a house caught on fire. And then I believe we're kind of like backtracking. I think we start the novel finding out about this fire, and then we go back in time and kind of see what like led to this catastrophic event, and we see what's happening at the party. We meet the people at the party, and it does sound very intriguing. So a good Southern California themed book I'm always up for. Okay. This next book, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know if I'm crazy for picking this up. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I was shocked to see it. I was shocked to see it at the Goodwill. I paid $2 for it, friends. And this book is definitely worth more than $2. This is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Wow, I killed that name. So sorry. But I've heard people talk about this book as like it's an experimental book. It's an experimental novel. Something about a house being bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. So like kind of Doctor Who there a little bit. But I have a feeling this is nothing like Doctor Who. It's very interesting format. It goes between like maybe documents and then it has like, yeah, you see what I mean, just flipping through it. It's experimental format. So, interesting. Yes, very interesting. I don't know if I'll like it. I'm hit or miss with like mixed media kind of books. I don't tend to love mixed media things, so I don't know if this is really mixed media though. I think it's more just experimental format, which I could be down for. I think that actually sounds cool to me. So we'll see. But I've been so curious about this book. Every time anyone talks about it, I'm just like, I want to try it. So now I can try it. It's so big and wide. You see how wide? It's like bigger than my face. 2 more books. Okay, so Cozy Mystery. Woohoo! I am still collecting Cozy Mysteries so that I can try them. This one just sounded adorable. It's Last Wool and Testament, a haunted yarn shop mystery. So this just reminds me of all my friends who like to knit and yarn and sew. Rainy, I'm looking at you mostly. So this reminds me of them. But this is about Kath Rutledge, and she is the leader of a spunky group of fiber and needlework artists. And her grandmother founded it. And I believe there's a cat, and then there's a ghost. There's a murder, of course. And a ghost that like tries to help solve the murder, which that's the part that got me. I was like, okay, the ghost is gonna help solve the murder. Okay, I'm in. Why not, right? That sounds adorable and amazing. So yeah, another cozy mystery to add to my collection. I now have 2. I own 2 cozy mysteries. So I will try them. I will actually read them sometime. But for now, I'm collecting them. One more, which this one, I don't know if I'm excited about this one anymore. But this is the Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I've seen some friends not love this. And I still need to read The Silent Patient as well. Never read The Silent Patient. Own a copy, but haven't gotten to it yet. I don't know. I've heard mixed things, but I will give it a try. The cover, I love the cover. I think the cover is really cool on this one. But this is about a woman who is convinced that this Greek tragedy professor at Cambridge University is a murderer. She's convinced that he has committed a murder, and she is out to get him. She's going to prove that he did murder a girl, I think. A girl, I'm pretty sure. But I think what we see is like her unraveling as well throughout the book, and maybe her not being a reliable narrator, perhaps. That's my loose understanding of it. Again, thrillers, don't want to know a lot. I don't like to know anything about most of the books that I pick up. I just like a vague synopsis, and then that's it, because it's so easy. I just feel like a lot of books spoil very easily in the synopsis. So I try to just get like little vague ideas. So that's my vague idea of this one, but we'll see. I like the cover. The premise sounds good, but I've seen some mixed things so far. So it'll be there when I feel like a thriller. Those are all the books that I picked up this summer across the months of June, July, and August. And let me know if you've read any of these. If you want to read any of these, if you have any that you want to buddy read with me, let me know. We'll figure it out. We'll plan it. We'll put it on the schedule. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any more content from me, and hit the little notification icon, and that'll let you know whenever I post a new video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Keep reading great books, and until next time, bye-bye.